Hey everyone, it's 7 o'clock. Dan had a watch on over here beep, so I was watching the clock, but I didn't have to. So Jim and David and Rich and Dan is here with us tonight, so I appreciate these guys helping out. It makes a big difference. It's if I had to do this on myself, guys, it would be a long hour for me to sit here and try to talk through it, and it's not the same as trying to teach a class or something, where you're up front and I don't know. You got interaction in a class where here, if it wasn't for you guys, I'd be out on an island by myself. So kind of lonely. How's everybody doing?
Good.
David, we missed you last week, David.
You didn't miss much either.
And David works for state, so sometimes he gets emergency calls out. Never know where he's got to go. You work, how many counties do you take care of?
10 counties.
10 counties. So, and if they call, are you on call all the time, or is there other people who does your job besides you?
I'm on call 24/7.
So it's you. So if something breaks down, they call you.
Well, risk area, something happens there, that's your extra hour overtime all the time going there.
Wow.
Because there's always something being tore up there.
Is the rest areas, I guess, all those are open in all this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I thought they would shut them down, but no, they're leaving them wide open.
Well,
Foot traffic's down though quite a bit.
I would say so. Well, I always like to wait a few minutes to get a few people on. I have a little thing that kind of sort of shows me numbers. Sometimes it's accurate, sometimes it's not. So, but I'd like to give it just a little bit. It's kind of pretty outside. People could take advantage of Mo, huh?
I think last week some of the comments weren't showing up on the screen Wednesday night. I don't know if it was YouTube or Facebook, but
Yeah. Somebody else has mentioned that as we weren't getting all our comments through, so I don't know what caused that. There's Connie. Connie's here. Hi, Connie. Okay. Well, what tonight we're going to do is Mark in chapter 4 and verses 35 through 41. And I thought I was going to have it so I could pop it on the screen tonight. It didn't work out. It looks like they're still finishing up work to the internet, but I think come the weekend we'll have some improved speeds around here, so that ought to be a advantage. So we're gonna get started. This is, if you look at this in your Bible, it's going to say something like Jesus calms the storm is what it'll say. So that's the text we're going to be in. It's a familiar text. In fact, I think I'd used it in a message here about 4 weeks ago or something like that. So, and it's always a good one to look at and go over. Unfortunately, we're going to have to read the questions to you. I've regressed tonight. I don't have as stuff. It didn't work like I had it. I've got it on here, but I couldn't get it to function properly, so I couldn't put it up. So we'll read the questions to you. So I'll get. Hey Jim, will you open us up in prayer, and then we'll get into this Bible study. Amen. Okay, well, Dan, will you?
Unmute us.
Apparently the dudes are still muted.
Are we still muted?
Well, they say you are. Let me see what's going on here. This time it looks like. Hey, say something now.
Are we unmuted, Darren?
We're about to find out.
According to me, you are. Like, I mean, nothing was muted here, but whenever I checked the source, it looked like the source was different. Can you all say hi? Okay, I'm going to assume that you're okay. You're showing up on the meter.
They are very faint.
They are very faint. Well, they're not going to be faint now. All right, now you guys say hi.
Hello, Darren. Hello. How's that?
Well, it's fine with me.
You can hear us now.
Yeah.
Ask Connie. She was on.
Well, Connie's saying nope, is what she's telling me. Let me see if they come through with something else here before we. I mean, I don't see any reason that you. Hello, everyone. David says. Okay, thanks, David. Yeah. Connie says
helps.
no. I don't understand, guys. I don't. I'm very confused. No different.
The little icon showing up that the microphone on my screen. So it's showing that there's a microphone.
Oh, we can hear you.
Oh, I can hear you guys fine.
Yeah, but it's not going across the airwaves. Somebody from Canton, Ohio watched it last week, Darren.
Uh huh.
Yeah, they asked me where I got my silver hair.
Did you say teaching?
Yeah, all those faculty members.
Jim, I'm stuck. Yeah. And I'm showing desktop audio, and you guys are bouncing across here on desktop audio, and they're telling me they can't hear anything. And there is nothing different than it's been before. Well, I'll tell you what.
Well, y'all can just answer the questions. We'll just tell
Yeah.
people what you say.
Yeah, I'll tell them what you guys said because I can hear you. so I don't really know. It's I mean everything is open that should be. It's like listening to one side of a conversation, huh? I don't know. No, we're unmuted. Everything is unmuted. All right. Well, whenever you guys give input, we're going to put it back out there to people because I don't know what could possibly be going on at all.
About those two knobs, do they do anything?
No, see, that has nothing to do with what we're doing. That's just the volumes. I don't know, guys. You guys are coming in loud and clear here, but it seems like it's not going back out. It's set for desktop audio, and it looks like everything's picking up just like it's supposed to. Let me check properties here again. The only thing I could set it to is the Scarlett 2+2, but that's what I'm using. The default. See, as soon as I hit default. Hey, now try it. Okay, well.
Can you hear us now? Is Connie still on there?
Well, Gina says it's not like they are not there at all. They're just real faint. Can't hear them. It's like they're whispering. Well, I changed it to default, and yeah, we'll try it here on default for a while and see what it does. If I get complaints, I'll switch it to desktop audio. But no, they're saying no. It isn't. Okay, let me go back here. I know it should be on desktop audio. Okay, all right. Well, we'll go ahead and start. And I don't know exactly what's causing it, guys, but
We will be your echoes
Yes.
for the rest of the world.
we will tell everyone what you're all saying. Okay, so Dan's going to read the text.
On that day, when evening came, he said to them, "Let's go over to the other side." Leaving the crowd, they took him along with them in the boat, just as he was, and other boats were with him. And there arose a fierce gale of wind, and the waves were breaking over the boat, so much that the boat was already filling up. Jesus himself was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we're perishing?" And he got up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Hush, be still." And the wind died down, it became perfectly calm. And he said to them, "Why are you afraid? How is it that you have no faith?" And they became very much afraid and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?"
Okay, so that's our story that happens, and I think it's one everybody's familiar with. It's not one we haven't been around. So let's say our first question, we always get this little starter question, is what terrifying storm or movie can you still recall vividly? Okay, so what do you have, a storm or a movie that you can recall vividly is how we're going to start the evening off tonight. So,
Darren, you know how I love to fish.
yeah.
My son got a boat, and he bought that boat purposely to take me fishing. And he did all he needed to do to learn how to be a captain and the ins and outs of a boat and what to do. And he had plenty of experience. And I was out many, many, many times with him. And we went out one day, and we had like 3 to 4 foot little waves, and then it calmed down, and there was no indication of any storm coming in. So we went 50 miles out, and all of a sudden the skies got dark, and Jonathan said, "Dad, we better head in." And I didn't argue with him, we've been out there all day anyway, so we started going in, and we started getting wind, and we started getting storms and rain, and we went from 2 to 3 to 3 to 4 told you this. I had taken, and I'm an avid swimmer too, but I had taken life jackets and tied them around my legs, tied them around my waist, and I had one on, and then I held on to this pole that was beside his steering wheel just because I was banging so much. It wasn't so much me worrying about one thing holding me up. It was just that I was banging up and down on that boat, getting knocked down. I'll tell you what, I was never more scared. And it wasn't that Jonathan was a novice. It was that, he was good at what he was doing. And he got us in there. But, man, I told myself, Lord, you get us in here, I'll never, ever go out again.
Apparently, Jen can
That
hear.
far. 50 miles out.
That sounds pretty terrifying, Rich.
It was literally terrifying.
Um, who else? Rich was talking about a tornado. In case you can't hear him, it's just I'm getting a lot of confusing statements actually. But I tried to put my microphone up here to the mic, and they just said that made it worse. So I didn't do that anymore. They must be able to hear something you guys are saying. I just don't understand how loud they can hear. What about the rest of you guys? Y'all got any terrifying experiences there that you remember well?
Yeah, there's a lot of trees knocked down. Robertson County got hit really bad. Like Sardis Christian Church has a huge tree right in front of the entrance to their building.
Oh,
knocked
really?
over. Yeah, and part of the siding of the building got knocked off too.
Well, Janet said that a tornado has blew past us a couple weeks ago was a bit unnerving. So, uh, you know, um, everybody's got those kind of events that they remember. Some are more traumatic to us than others. For me, I don't know if it'd be a storm or a movie so much as that earthquake was unsettling to me. That was probably the most unsettling thing I remember living through. Even though it was very short, it was just I wasn't ready for that. I didn't expect something like that. All right, well, I was. I was probably about maybe 9, 10. I was trying to think what year it was. Was it in the early 80s? Was it 79? I'd be about 11 years old at that time. So I was. But believe me, I remember it well.
So does David. David remembers that well, don't you?
Yeah, you're all funny.
I was 3.
All right, let me go on here. Let's get into the scripture a little bit about a question. It says, what emotions did the disciples feel as the storm raged on and on? Well, what do you guys think? What were they dealing with?
Fear. Fear of death and drowning.
Jen says she was on a school bus when a tornado blew the roof off the Nicholas County gym. Woo wee! The driver backed the bus into a barn. Wow, that would be scary. It sounds like Rich has dealt with a storm on water, so maybe he can relate a little bit to this.
I know how terrified I was. These guys, when this storm, they said, it looked like the boat was going to get swamped and, water coming in. They had to be terrified. I mean, they were just not only fear, Dan said death. They thought they were going to die.
Rich, were you on the ocean whenever that happened?
Yes, we were 50 miles out.
50 miles out on the ocean. Wow.
Yes.
I was trying to think about, we're on the Sea of Galilee, but you're talking about it's the Sea of Galilee. Was it 7 miles wide and 11 miles long? I don't know. I'd have to look it up, but I mean that can produce a good sized storm. For a lake that big.
Joel remembers the lake when we were at. Remember we were at the lake in our boats and that storm hit.
Yeah. I mean,
Pelted by that rain.
it's amazing. Yeah, Joel's even mentioned that. Said a bunch of us were at and the storms come up so fast. It's hard to understand how a storm can come up so fast on a lake, but it does. So I mean, and they're.
The Sea of Galilee is known for that, for those to be sudden storms, to be because of the mountainside,
Uh huh.
the way the cliffs were.
And whenever it happens, and you're stuck there in the middle of it. And I don't know about you guys, but I have seen they brought at least one boat from the Sea of Galilee out from the time that Jesus would have lived on the earth, and the boat wasn't nearly as big of a rig as what I would expected, and it was a fishing boat that they wow, we're getting all kinds of stuff. We got the name of the bus driver and everything coming up here from that. But the boat just wasn't that big, not for what I expected that Jesus would have been on. So, I mean, I can't imagine what it would have been like for them. And you got to think, I mean, we know from the text it tells us that they were very frightened. But these people were, well, okay, I know Matthew's a tax collector, but yet Peter, I'm getting some really weird feedback too, guys. It's not just you all. I don't know. I know Peter and Andrew and James and John that their dads and them, they were in the fishing business. So being on the lake was nothing new for them, and for them to be this terrified, it says a lot about the storm that we're dealing with. Dan, what's our next question there? In that it's over here.
Over there. What was Jesus showing them about himself in all of this? Actually, the next question, let's see.
Yeah, they kind of read in the same.
What did they want from Jesus, I guess, is the next question.
Okay, what did they want from Jesus? Well, let's look at that text. How do they?
Well, they said, don't you care that we're perishing?
Okay. So what do you guys think? What did they want from Jesus?
Maybe help. It.
Yeah. Yeah, and what else you guys got about that right there?
What did they want from Jesus?
Yeah.
Well, it says there at the end that they were amazed, at what kind of man is this that even the wind, and, we're going to get to that. So they're probably upset the fact that he's just sleeping or laying. They said, Paul translation says he was laying on a coffin, so he was being pretty comfortable with himself, and they're all terrified. They're all afraid. They all feel they're going to perish. And, don't you care? It might be that they just want him on board the way they feel. Even though Jim may, they do know that he's extraordinary and he could do some things, but they probably didn't know that he could tell the wind and the storm to calm down and the seas to calm down and everything would be okay. But they probably wanted him on board. Hey, why aren't you afraid?
Yeah, I kind of think the same way. I don't know, David, was you going to say something? Well, I was trying to, sort through my mind. Of course, we're in uh we're in Mark in chapter 4, and Mark does things in such a hurry. I'm trying to put it in perspective, guys, with where are we at miracle wise. I'm thinking before they got in this, didn't he feed the 5,000? Like if we went over to Matthew, wouldn't we see that he fed 5,000 before he calmed the storm?
Yeah, he left the crowd, so there was a crowd of people around him, so he was doing something.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to think, okay, what kind of miracles, what have they seen Jesus do up to this point? But I don't, I don't know if I'm with you guys or not. I don't think that they really imagine that he was going to be able to stop the storm. In other words, that he could control the elements in such a way. I don't know. I think just by their response later, I don't know. They just seem so shocked by what happens there. Okay. Well, anyway, let's go on to that next question there.
Okay, how do you picture their faces in verses 39 through 41? When
Okay.
he tells the storm to be calm and then rebukes them for their lack of faith.
Okay. So, how do you guys picture how they are in those verses?
I'd say mouth wide open, eyes as big as possible, looking at each other in disbelief, like what just happened.
Yeah.
Like we wanted something to happen, but we did not expect that.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if it's just sudden, you just try to visualize that. You see storms that are so big that it's rocking the boat, filling the boat, and Jesus says, "Be still," and it's just done. Like the waves just drop, the wind stops blowing.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys got any thoughts on that? I'm
That
just
sounds like a no.
yeah, that sounds like a no. I am sitting here trying to get in my head where everything else would fall in right now. The healing of a demon-possessed man is right after this. So, I mean, he's by far started his ministry. And I'm going to run back over here to Matthew real quick because Mark is, he can be, okay, that was that time for that storm. Okay, then I'm back, we're back all the way to chapter 9 in Matthew, which, okay, he heals, yeah, in chapter 9, he stepped out of the boat. Okay, so in chapter 8, he calms the storm in Matthew. So it's way before the feeding of the 5,000. He's done the Sermon on the Mount, guys. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking. I have to sit here and search through. John always records things differently than the other gospels do, but it looks like if we tried to put this in a time frame, we're pretty early in how things are going down. So, I think we have to, if we're going to do it any justice, we got to kind of put it in its place and where it is in time. So, they haven't seen him feed 5,000. They haven't seen him feed 4,000 yet. They haven't seen the transfiguration. So there is a lot of stuff that they haven't seen. So maybe that's going to make a difference in what they're thinking and how they think about this. Okay, let's see here. The next question there. Well, we're not that far off from that, really, David. Well, I was going to say, okay, so if we went in some kind of sequence off Matthew would start us off with the baptism of John in chapter 3, and then chapter 4, he would be led into the wilderness and tempted. And it says at the end of that, it talks about him starting his ministry, and then chapter 5, 6, and 7 is really going to be the Sermon on the Mount, and then we're to chapter 8 where the storm takes place. So I don't know. We are pretty early, guys, in his ministry. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's something to think about anyway in their responses. And, John says that if we don't really know everything that was, if we tried to write everything that was recorded, the books couldn't contain it, that he did. So, but I guess it was early. Okay, Dan, what about that next question there?
All right, the next question says, which would frighten you more, the storm or Jesus?
Okay, guys. Which would frighten you more, the storm or Jesus?
I think I'd be frightened by the storm, and I'd just be so impressed. I'd be more impressed and shocked than scared. If I'm about to die and suddenly I'm not about to die, I don't think fear would necessarily be the first thing on my mind. I'd just be in awe of what just happened.
Okay. All right. What about you guys?
I feel the same way. I think that they would be more fearful of the storm. Be more fearful of the storm. I would be. I think I would be like, I ain't leaving this guy's side, man. If he can do what he just did, I'm not leaving his side. I'm staying with this guy.
What?
I just saw it with my own eyes. He talked to the wind and the storm, and I mean, it just immediately calmed. And they had to be very impressed and in awe.
Jen says storm.
The storm. Be afraid of the storm. What about you guys? Storm. You do that? David, you have the same opinion? Okay. It's true. Okay. Well, are you guys surprised that they're terrified? Because I mean, it says they were terrified, and they ask, what manner of man is this?" So,
Well, I guess if you're scared of the storm, you might be more scared of the person that can control the storm.
okay, what was you saying, David? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, okay, and it looks like we're going to split half and half because I'm going with David. That's, I just, I know it sounds crazy to say, that I would be terrified after I saw Jesus do this, but if I didn't know anything, okay, I always ask myself this question is would I rather be in a church building at night or in a graveyard? And I've always found that question hard to answer because it's funny. These buildings can make a lot of noises when you're in here by yourself.
That's true. Mount Carmel used to pick up people's phone conversations. I can sit there at night and hear people talking through the speakers. I'm like, and time to go home. Bye-bye.
And anyway, so I don't know. Something about the supernatural itself is very eerie to me, like that. Whenever I see things that doesn't match the natural laws that I know, and I don't know if this is Jen or Gina. But I think it's Jen. Says it's a toss-up. Is what it says. One of them does anyway. So that's where I am on it about that, because I get very frightened at things that don't just add up. Like if I know gravity and the natural laws are being
advanced math.
Yeah, something. There you go. Okay, so let's go on with the next question there.
All right, on to official question number 2. What was Jesus showing them about himself in all this?
Okay, what do you guys think Jesus was showing them about himself?
I'd say his omnipotence and the fact that he was God's son.
Okay. What do you guys think? Yeah. Well, it's a bad storm, so I'm going to assume that they thought the boat could be destroyed and lives could be lost. So he's able to stop that, and there's at least one scripture in the Old Testament that would apply the very things that they saw to God. So I
I mean, a
think,
lot of the things in the book of Job, I think, would apply here that God says about himself when
Yeah.
he's rebuking Job near the end of the book.
so I think it would be it would make you really think hard. Wow, who are we dealing with here? He's this is bigger than what we imagine. Because I mean, even if they started grabbing things out of the Old Testament about the Messiah and about the kingdom, I don't think that they really grasp that this could be like the Son of God. That part was going to go over their heads. So that's going to be a real challenge to them. Okay. What else we got here, Dan?
All right. We're on to
Uh-oh. Oh, go ahead.
reflect.
Yeah.
It says, how do you react to Jesus when he seems to be asleep in your life?
Ooh, he was showing them that there was no need to be afraid, Connie says, and that's true. So, what do you guys think about the question here? How do you react when Jesus seems to be asleep in your life?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
What do you think's meant by that question to start with?
when it feels like God's not answering your prayers, or God is inattentive to whatever issues or situations you're going through, kind of like the majority of the book of Job, when Job just wanted to know, what did I do wrong? Show me so I can repent. That's the same sort of way I feel. If God's not answering my prayers, we've already discussed this in previous lessons, but yeah, I mean, when it seems like God's not paying attention, I want to know why, and I usually blame myself and start looking at myself and figuring out, am I done something wrong that's hurting my relationship with God?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wanted to say too, with the taking away from it, we don't have enough patience to wait on God's timing, ultimate plan to work itself out.
I absolutely believe you're right, Jim, with that. Sometimes I just think we just don't have patience in general to let God drive the ship. I mean, we constantly are wanting to steer whatever it is our responsive direction. We don't want to know where He's taking it, and we don't want it to go that way. So, yeah, I agree. Let's see, what I am doing wrong that God's not listening to me. Yeah. Okay. Any more thoughts on that, guys? All right. Well, I knew this was short, but there are more questions on this other side. This actually, they wanted to bring this about stress, is what they had thought, and just the reaction and how nervous we get and how calm Jesus is. But there are some more multiple choice questions on the other side of this, and they're simple, but I'm just going to throw them out there here that goes along with this. So I'll let Dan get us started here. We'll look at these multiple choice questions. So you guys will have to listen in on these.
All right, these are some interesting questions and answers. Number one, if you had been one of these disciples, what would you have told your wife that evening? My answer would be the biggest fish story ever, but this one was true. But here are the actual choices in the story. A, I almost got killed. B, this is a good one, that Jesus is sure a sound sleeper. I like that one. Letter C, I can't figure Jesus out. And D, only God can do what I saw today, which I would definitely think that D would be a pretty strong answer. Only God can do what I saw today. So if you've been one of his disciples, what have you told your wife? I almost got killed. Jesus sure can sleep sound. I can't figure Jesus out, or only God can do what I saw today.
What would you guys pick?
Dana says D.
D. E, I wouldn't tell her. You
Rick
weren't even
says-
supposed to be out of the house,
I
let
wouldn't
alone
tell
on a
her.
boat. Connie says
Connie
C.
says
Danny,
C, I
Dana
can't figure
says
Jesus
says
out.
D.
Yep.
I would probably be like, wow, this is who else but God could be doing something like this. That's where I would be stuck at. I'd be amazed. Like, I would probably start off with, "You're not going to believe what happened today out on the boat." It was pretty amazing. Yeah. All right. What about that next one?
All right, number 2. Why do you think Jesus suggested that they take a boat trip across the lake? Letter A, also very similar to letter B, the last one, that says to get a little rest, which is funny. B, to get away from people, which is no longer an issue. Letter C, to put the disciples through this test. And letter D, to be alone with his disciples. So why do you think he suggested taking a boat trip? To get some rest, to get away from people, to put his disciples through the test, or to be alone with them? And I'd probably go with C, just to test them, and maybe just to show them who he was, honestly.
Okay. What do you guys think?
Does it say anything that they were concerned about Jesus? I think they're more concerned about themselves and not dying. We have another vote for letter C,
C?
putting the disciples through the test.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I mean, Jesus knows, beforehand what's going to take place. I think this was a plan. This is part of it. This is part of his ministry to try to bring them on board to something as phenomenal as it was. That doesn't happen every day.
We have one vote.
As Dave pointed out earlier, with a lot of witchcraft, a lot of things, there might have been some other healings going on. As people they got better, or they seem they got better because of this particular witch doctor or this particular magician. Something magical might have happened a time or two that they've seen in their lifetime, but nothing of this magnitude. So I think God was using this to get their attention and to see, to show his deity, and he knew. So let's get in the boat, guys.
Where does this fall into his miracles? Do you guys? I mean, we kind of do this and skip over it, but this is pretty big, isn't
Discussed
it?
Super early and
Yeah.
super big.
Yeah.
If there's
All
any
right.
way to show people who you are, that's one good way to do it. And we had one vote for letter D, to be alone with his disciples.
Yeah. All right. Well, what's our next question?
Next question. This is a tough one.
Okay.
It says, why did Jesus let the storm come up? Letter A says he didn't. It was natural. Letter B, he was sleeping. Letter C, he wanted to teach them a lesson. Letter D, he didn't send the storm, but he used it to stretch their faith. And letter E, which is definitely the big says he didn't know what was going on. So, why did he let the storm come? Letter A says he didn't. It was natural. Letter B, he was sleeping. Letter C, he wanted to teach them a lesson. Letter D, he didn't send it, but he used it to stretch their faith. And letter E, he didn't know what was going on. I'd have to go with teaching a lesson myself. The answer is always C.
Gina says A and D.
A and D, another vote for D. So
Connie
we have one
says
that says
D.
he didn't, it was natural. He didn't send the storm, but he used it to stretch their faith.
I have to say, guys, this is one of the most difficult things in understanding. I know that, God set the world to spinning. I know he did that. And I know that things, he put the oceans, the scripture tells us that, I think he's talking to Job at the time, matter of fact, did you tell the waves to where they can go to and where they come, that they have this distance. So he set all these perimeters out there for this world to work and for an atmosphere and stuff. So, it's hard for me to understand. I don't know.
More votes for C and D.
Yeah.
Teaching them a lesson. He didn't send it, but he used it to stretch their faith.
That sounds good to me. There's just so many things that I find difficult. We've got Jesus, who I feel like knows, he knew which disciple was going to betray him. So I feel like he knows he's going to the cross. Anyway, that's a hard question, Dan. You're right. It is. I mean, but appreciate your all's response and helps us to think. All right, what else we got?
All right, slightly easier question. I especially like letter B's answer, but it says, why do you think the disciples awakened Jesus? Letter A, which I'm going to vote for already, was concern for their lives. Letter B is my favorite answer, though, because it's funny. They needed help bailing water. Letter C, they resented his sleeping during the crisis. And letter D, they expected a miracle. So, why do you think they awakened Jesus? A, concern for their lives. B, they needed help bailing water. They wanted Jesus to join the bucket brigade, I guess. They resented his sleeping during the crisis, and letter D, they expected a miracle.
Okay, is it possible that they run down to get Jesus? What are you doing asleep? We're perishing. Is it possible that they were at that point just trying to wake him up, and they are doing stuff on this boat, trying to get it to stay afloat? Maybe they thought this wasn't even in the realm of what he did. That this wasn't. Is that possible? Let's see. I've heard that.
It had to be possible. You think about it. You put yourself in that boat. At that time, they had no clue that he's going to get up and calm the storm or get the boat to start floating a different way. They probably were just upset that he's sleeping through all this.
Well, yeah, and if they really. If they thought he could calm the storm, if they had thought into that, then they'd be like, hey, don't worry about this. We'll get Jesus. He'll take care of this here in a minute. Right?
I think they were more sleeping and that he's not paying attention and they're perishing. They're afraid. When you're terrified, you expect everybody else to be terrified. And you expect everybody else to feel the way you feel. And here's Jesus, completely opposite. He's sleeping. He's on a cushion. He's taking it easy. And these guys are up here fearing for their lives and just terrified because of this storm.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well,
We had some votes for C and D while we were away.
yeah. There's a lot of votes here going.
Presenting him sleeping, which that makes sense because you always feel bad about somebody. Like when there's a crisis going on and you're like working as hard as you can to deal with it, and there's just somebody sitting there doing nothing. That tends to get people pretty upset pretty fast. Like, the bathroom is flooding. There's water everywhere. 4 of us are trying to clean up the water, and you're sitting there texting on your phone.
Right.
That frequently makes people not happy.
And it's not where you're expecting a miracle.
Yeah.
It's just, he'll take care of this on his own. Okay. All right. What about our next one? What else we got?
All right. And by the way, apparently responding on things that Gina shares is not beneficial for getting your comments posted. I've noticed that.
Oh, well, the problem is we actually have this stream going to 3 different locations. And, it runs on Gina is actually running this live through her Facebook. So if people connect there, then it is a different stream.
I think she sees it,
yeah,
but we don't.
and we don't. So that's what she's doing, is responding back. Yeah.
All right. Number 5. What was the tone in Jesus' voice when he said, "You of little faith, why are you so afraid?" And letter A, each one of these has a summary and then a paraphrase. So letter A says it was a put down. He was calling them scaredy cats, which I can just imagine Jesus calling people scaredy cat. But anyway, letter B, puzzlement. Why would you worry when I'm in the boat? Makes sense. Letter C, empathy. I feel what you're feeling. And letter D, disappointment. You've disappointed me. I wish you had more faith. Which I can see a combination of B and D making sense. So, what was the tone of his voice when he said, "You have little faith, why are you afraid"? A, it was a put down, calling them scaredy cats. B, he was puzzled, asking them, "Why would you worry when I'm in the boat?" C, empathy. I feel what you're feeling. And letter D, disappointment. You've disappointed me. I wish you had more faith.
Well, everybody reads things like whenever I read Jesus say that statement, and that's not the only time he says that statement, ye of little faith. I've always read it like, ye of little faith. Like, why won't you believe? That's the way I read it. And I think back to, there is a scene where Jesus says, beware the yeast of the Pharisees.
Yeah.
And whenever he says that,
They think he's talking about bread.
they think he's talking about bread. And he's like, are you kidding me?
Remember when I
We
fed the
just fed
5,000
5,000 people.
You think I couldn't make some bread if I wanted some bread?
Yeah, so that's kind of why I went along with that answer. I don't know which one that fits best. Gina says B and C. What do you guys think?
I like disappointment and puzzlement as well.
2 more votes for letter D, disappointment.
I think there was some disappointment in his tone. He called them and he told them to, they gave
Uh-huh.
So there had to be something there that they believed in Jesus and what he said, "Follow me, I'll make you fishers of men." Um, I believe that he was a little bit disappointed, even though we have pretty much come to a conclusion that it's towards the beginning of his ministry, and they haven't seen a multitude of miracles. But I still think that he had to have some disappointment in his tone or his voice, in his demeanor. That guys, you need to have faith. I'm disappointed that you don't have more faith than that.
I just don't know how you say that statement and it's not some kind of disappointment because the statement itself leans that way.
Yeah.
All right. What else we got here, Dan?
We have a line indicating the end of the questions is what we have next.
Okay.
So
And then there's
is this still part of the same thing? I
yeah,
thought this
still
was a
part of the same
different
thing. No.
one. Never mind. The next part is called In My Story. And question number 1 says, what is your typical response to storms in your life? A says, help, what do I do? B, anger, why does this happen to me? C, brave front, I can tough it out. D, turn to God, help me out of this, Lord. Or E, punt, which represents I give up.
Okay. All right. Okay. What do you guys think? What do you do when there's a storm hits? You need to hear him again, Dan?
I don't, but other people might.
Okay.
Letter A says help, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
B says anger, why does this happen to me? C, brave front, I can tough it out. D, turn to God, help me out of this, Lord. And E, punt, I give up, I quit.
What about it, guys? What do you do? C? Well, Jim, I see your mouth moving. No. Yeah. Well, I can talk. I see somebody says ashamedly B and C. I can talk about it all. Every storm, whenever it's a real storm, and I'm not talking about a flat tire. I'm talking about whenever something serious hits the hairs on the back of my neck, and it's a real storm to me, and I'm in the middle of it. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I wish I could sit here and say as soon as they hit, it's like, hey, Jesus has got this. And, I mean, that's been a big catchphrase lately. Everybody else telling people, hey, God's got this. And I understand that. But, man, whenever you're in the middle of it, it can be really hard to deal with, anything like that. And I'm glad we got people that support us and encourage us, but still, it's so scary sometimes. And ultimately, I hope I calm down and rely on God. Have we got time for any more of these? I know these kind of push the point back towards us. 51.
7:52-ish. We have about 5 more questions.
Okay, we got 5 more questions. Dan's going to pick out one of the best over there. While he's doing that, I want. Okay, here's what I want you guys to know. Is by next week, I want you all to be able to go to Jitsi. If you look at your screen, it says up there in the corner, jitsi.org. Now, you could go to your phone, and you can find your app, whether you've got a Apple or a Android phone. Either one would have that on it. And you can go to, if you got a computer with a webcam, you can go to that, and you type in that, and it's going to say start a meeting. So you just click on that, and then I want you to type in New Life, and you do it with a capital N, and then New Life is all one word. And if my wife's out there listening, just to show everybody how easy this is, and she's not going to appreciate this, But if you would just like go ahead, I know she's got Jitsi on her phone. If you just type in New Life with a capital N and everything else is lowercase, just in a second you'll see her pop on with us, and you'll see how it is. And while she's like probably like, why did he just do this?
There's
Dan's
about to be a storm in somebody's life tonight.
Dan's going to read a question to us.
All right. Out of the questions left, we're going to go with this one. What brings storms in your life? In clouds is not one of the choices. We have A, financial difficulties, B, hassles with relationships, C, insecurity, aka job or future, D, failure and feeling like you are a failure, or tragedy as in sickness or death. Which brings storms in your life? The choices are finances, relationships, insecurity about jobs in the future, failure, and tragedy. And Gina has joined the
She
crowd.
is joined. So just like that, everybody, you
Modern
can be right on. Hi,
technology.
Gina. Everybody say hi to Gina.
Hola, senora.
So it's just that easy for you to be able to join. So what about this question? What causes the storms in your life, guys?
That was you. Yeah. So, storms in your life. Stress in general. I mean, that's not really one of the choices, but I would have to pick just stress and feeling overwhelmed and insecurity, I guess. Probably letter C if I had to pick one. Insecurity, jobs, the future, just worrying about stuff. Like, what are we going to do now? Uncertainties about the future.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Darren, when I was younger, it was finances.
Yeah.
Mostly finances. We were living from paycheck to paycheck, and 3 kids, and living on the 2 lowest paid professions there was, preaching. That was stressful, very trying, very. What are we going to do now? But gosh, after all these years, most of my storms have been dealing with other people's storms. Dealing with other people's lives. You know what it's like in the ministry. You don't really have time to think about your own because you have so many other people to take care of and that call you and that need you and you need to show them that we can get through this storm. It seemed like that was the majority of my life.
Mm-hmm. I believe, and it's, here's the thing, is God has continually taken care of us financially. It's not like that we have faced off with something like that, but I just feel like that's always in the back of my mind is that part. And it's just like, sometimes I just wonder why. Why is that even a big thing? Because, I've seen how faithful God is. Am I expecting him to quit on me or something? It's just weird what that I find. And, I don't know. Health problems, all kinds of stuff just are instant things with us. And you guys got any thoughts about this? Where your storms whip up at the fastest? All right. I'm hearing like double, like I hear myself over and over again. I don't know where that's coming from. So, oh, okay. That's what's causing this strange
So it's
feedback.
like Darren is singing around with himself, is what you're telling me.
All right. Well, guys, we're pretty much out of time. I think one thing, if you think about what they're trying to do with this study, whenever we look at the questions, they're trying to, look at this and what's the application of this? Jesus, he calmed the storm, and it was a physical storm, but can he do the same for us? And what area are those storms in? So there's lots of ways for us to try putting this into application, and it's not always super easy to do, but. At the most, surely we can look at the answer that they had, and not that they had an answer, but it was a leading question, and that's who can do this. And they knew what they were pointing to, that God was the one that could do this. All right. Well, guys, we're pretty much out of time. Don't forget, be putting this program on your phone, Jitsi, and I really hope that by next week, we've got some neat stuff going on where we got a whole screen full of people. That's what I like to see
That's
anyway.
spelled Jitsi, is that correct?
Jitsi. And like I said, Android phone, Apple phone, it's free. You don't have to set up an account, nothing like that. Basically, all you'll do is go to it and type in New Life with a capital N and all one word. It'll be just like that. Just that simple.
And Gina says it helps with the volume issues, so that was nice.
Yeah, she can hear us now. I don't know what's going on that, guys. I'll just have to
I
sit
don't know,
and
but they
tinker with
sound
it.
quieter than usual.
I think so
here.
too. Yeah,
even.
I do too. So I'm going to have to understand that better. All right. That's right. Pink Patty and Pal, Friday night at 7. Jim and AJ at 7:30 tomorrow night. Yep. Okay. Rich, will you close us up in prayer this evening?
Sure. Let's go ahead and go to prayer. Father, we thank you again for the time that we've had to be together. We thank you for the fellowship that we can enjoy one another, even though it's through a different method. And being on social media the way it is, we thank you that we can still hear our feelings, our thoughts, and reflect. Father, we reflect on today. It's a beautiful day. We thank you for what we've had and what we've been given, the blessings in today. Father, help us to focus on the positive things, because if we just look around this time of day it is that we see life, we see spring all around us, we see new beginnings. And Father, even though we're in a cloud of this COVID-19, this uncertainty, 22 million plus Americans out of jobs, people don't know whether maybe the next meal will come, people don't know if they're going to have a paycheck, how they're going to do this, how they're going to do that. But God, we know that you can calm any storm. We know that you can relieve any stress. And Father, we just pray that we'll keep focused on what Jesus promised us, that he will be with us today, tomorrow, and even as he was yesterday. So Father, we thank you that with them will help us be focused on that no matter what storm we face. We thank you again for life and for the peace that passes all understanding that only comes from our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. In his name we pray and we ask these things. Amen.
Man.
Amen. Thank you, guys. Sorry about the volumes tonight, guys. I'll just have to sit down and figure out what happened.
The Jitsi will solve the problem.
Yep. So see you guys